The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is as thorny now as it used to be back in 2011 when Ethiopia first broke ground with it. Nearly a decade-long negotiation between Ethiopia, Sudan and Egypt has failed to bring about desired agreements. My guest tonight is Ambassador Tiruneh Zena, a career diplomat who has spent his life advocating Ethiopia's stance and explaining its interest in the international arena. Ambassador Tiruneh Zena previously also served as the Commissioner of the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission. Mr. Ambassador, a very warm welcome to Addis Dialogue.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Let me start with how you are viewing this Ethiopia's two-year-long reformative journey. At first, there was this optimism, expectations, but eventually things started to turn sour, as it were, after mass evictions, political polarization and tensions. What's your view?
Well, it was not unexpected because in Ethiopia there have not been dialogue, political or otherwise. In such a situation, if things remain suffocated for a long time, and when you open up, obviously the turmoil erupts. That's exactly what happened in Ethiopia. We had no substantive dialogue on many issues, political, economic, history, and otherwise. That's why, when the reform started, there was no consensus. So the consensus was simply that there should be a reform. Everybody agrees on it. But what kind of reform? Where to move? How to move? Whom to include? That was not, well discussed beforehand. So there was problems here and there, problems in the countryside, problems in the city, problems among the nationalities. So this is, I think, this was what is expected in such a situation.
So what are your recommendations, your suggestions for national consensus now?
National consensus is to continue dialogue on every issue. Today, people speak different things on different subjects. People have different opinion on Ethiopian history. People have different opinion on Ethiopian political process. Different, almost on everything, many people differ on while discussing the issue. Therefore, the solution for this is to continue discussion, to continue dialogue, to open up for everybody, and to make the dialogue inclusive. No one should be left out from the new Ethiopian project. Everybody must be included. In that way, we can create consensus at the end. Consensus peacefully. Consensus which will accommodate everybody and which will bring peace and stability to this country.
Well, let's also talk about the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Relatively speaking, the Sudan has been a source of constant support to the Ethiopian side as far as the GERD is concerned. However, these days they have joined the Egyptians in pushing for the postponement of the negotiation. The Sudan has even written a letter to the United Nations Security Council demanding a legally binding agreement before the filling of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. Sir, what's your take here?
First of all, let me say that Ethiopia has full liberty to use her natural resources to fight the rampant poverty which prevails in the country. No one with his or her right sense could question Ethiopia's inalienable right to use her natural resources, which is Abai, which is our river, which we had never exploited so far. So the problem being created by Sudan or Egypt is simply we started to using this river for the first time in our history in a substantive way. So it was for them a new thing. They never expected us to come to this point. And they want to maintain us the way we were, poor, unable to do anything, and even to use our own resources. Well, with what happened with the Sudan is a sad story. Sudanese were our friends. I hope they will remain our friends. Sudanese understand Ethiopians. Ethiopia understands Sudanese. We had a good relation with the Sudan. Well, if they bring to this issue to the Security Council, things could be discussed anywhere. But the African tradition is such that we discuss this kind of things in our region and under the auspices of our organization, the African Union. We have our organization. We have a forum here where we can discuss everything, where we can agree on everything. It is we who understand the problem better than anybody else up there. You know, the international community in New York probably less informed about the African problem than the people here in the AU, you know, who are Africans, who understand the African problem, who understand the situation, who are our brothers, who are dealing with the problem, with the African problem every day. So I think pushing this issue to the Security Council is not, to my understanding, unnecessary, and it will not be helpful.
Egyptian media have been very active and also very vocal, feeding its audience with falsified and deliberately misguided narratives about the River Nile. Hence, their insistence on hegemony is the main agenda. What should Ethiopian media houses do to counteract or to refute these erroneous narratives?
You know, this is a very dangerous move. This is exactly what the Hitler and Joseph Goebbels did, you know, before the Second World War. They fed their population, the decent, cultured, and matured people of Germany with false propaganda. And afterwards, you know what happened. They demonized the Jews more than the devil himself. You know, afterwards, what happened, everybody knows. So feeding false propaganda is an invitation for disaster. This has to be avoided. As to what should the Ethiopian media should do, I think I will not advise you an eye for an eye, because then all of us will be blind. So we should tell to the Ethiopian people, we should inform the Ethiopian people the truth that we need this river for our development, for our progress. And that we are not there to hurt anybody, that we understand good neighborliness, that the principle which uh, emphasizes that the upper riparian countries should not cause any significant harm on the lower riparian state. Ethiopia understands this principle fully. We are not there to harm anybody significantly or otherwise. We are simply using this water for our development. Once we use the water, the flow continues. It goes there. And the kind of thing we are using is not going to cause a significant harm to the Sudanese or to the Egyptians. It would rather help both all of us.
Egypt and Ethiopia have been in multiple rounds of negotiations over the dam over the past 9 or so years, all of which have failed to reach final agreement. While it has been proven that the Egyptian side came to each round with a totally different agenda and deliberately blocked the agreement, Egypt blames Ethiopia for the failure of the negotiation. Why are Egyptians so unashamed or brazen, if you like, about this?
Because they are not ready to negotiate. That's simple answer. They are not ready to negotiate. You know, if I just give you some historical background, the aim of Egypt was to control the whole Nile basin. That they started in 1870s with invasion of Ethiopia, time and again, 3, 4, 5 times. They used American and European mercenaries to fight the Ethiopian peasant army, but they didn't succeed. That was to control the basin, to control the whole river, you know. So when that failed, in 1950, they developed another strategy, and that strategy is to make Ethiopia permanently weak. That is why the East African region as a whole, not only Ethiopia, the problem in Somalia, the problem in Eritrea even, the problem around Eastern Africa, the whole problem, it is instigated by Egyptians. Everywhere it is their hand. It is they who are creating, fomenting problems here and there. You know, so it is against this policy of theirs to negotiate, to agree, and to allow Ethiopia to use her natural resources, and to allow Ethiopia to develop, to allow Ethiopia to fight poverty. You know, this they are not ready to do. This is basically against their policy. That's why they are beating around the bush. You know, they cannot say, I will not allow Ethiopia to develop to the international community. This they cannot. But they have to come out with fabricated reason, which has no substance in it. That Ethiopia is preparing to hurt Egypt and the Egyptian people. You know, this is why that we cannot agree. This is the main principle. They have different objectives. You know, if they negotiate, if they cooperate with us, if we create peace and stability in the region, Ethiopia has every possibility to develop. That they don't want. That they don't want to happen. That's what they want to prevent. So this is the basic reason that we should understand.
Okay. Um, let me turn your attention to the issue of human rights in Ethiopia. What were the challenges that you faced when you were at the helm of the state-sponsored Ethiopian Human Rights Commission previously?
Yeah, that was a real challenge
Yeah.
because I didn't expect when I was appointed or selected by the Ethiopian Parliament as Chief Commissioner of Human Rights. And I didn't also expect them to appoint me by acclamation because at that time there was some 200 or 150 opposition members, and the Prime Minister didn't get that kind of uh, reception by the Parliament. So when I was appointed, I thought, okay, these people trusted me. I have to do something. I went with really I was confused because I don't know what to do. I went there. I saw the office. I saw the expertise there. Uh, I'm not naive about the situation, but when I went and there and saw what is there, I was really disappointed. I had only some 20 people for 100 million or 90 million at that time population, and the office was only in Addis Ababa. Only one office in Addis Ababa. How do you expect an Ethiopian peasant from Gambela or from Elubabu or from even Tigray to come to Addis Ababa to present his complaint to the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission? How many kilometers? Imagine. That was, I simply thought this is a joke. And then my first move was to have at least offices in every region, nearer to the public. That we did within the first year. And then the second thing I thought to myself was to visit certain the areas where human rights are extremely abused. These were prisons and police stations. I went around. I saw there were no bed in any in many prisons. There were no mattress. In one room, people sleep in like animals. So I said to myself, this has to be changed. And I went around, negotiated with the regional governments, and, and succeeded in many ways to at least to have beds, mattresses for the prisoners. When the problem is big and rampant, you don't dwell on individual small issue. That won't solve the problem. You have to look at the big picture, and you have to focus how to change the bigger picture. You know, so I appealed to the authorities in the region. Many of them took my appeal seriously. They changed it. They provided the prisoners with bed, mattress, and they also increased the the food budget by 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 100%, some in many areas, because it was miserable. They were starving literally. So this was what we did in first year. Also, the other thing was, then I was appointed around January. Then came in May, there was election. And I said to myself, okay, this is one of human rights issue, because without democratic rights, there cannot be human rights. Both goes together. So I said, we have to observe this issue. And the government didn't want it. And people also laughed at me because we were something like 20 people in the commission. How can you observe with 20 staff this massive in such a large country? But I went to the universities. I insist sometimes when I think something, I insist on it. I went to the universities. I told this, I presented the situation to them. I discussed with them. They volunteered to assist me, to give students, law, law students and law professors joined me. And we went and observed the election, you know. With, so with 20 plus people, that means I succeeded to observe election. And this kind of thing we did, you know. This is not only this. The other big thing we did was, you know, the most difficult thing in this country is to provide the the poor people with the right to justice. They don't have lawyer to assist them. They have not money. They have no money, you know, to pay to the lawyers. So what they do, they just at the mercy of the bigger ones. So what we did was, went again to the universities. My universities are my sanctuaries always. I discussed with them. I negotiated with them. Let you provide expertise. I will provide money, and we will set up legal aid centers in the Woreda, in every Woreda, you know, and provide legal assistance to the poor who do not have the money, you know, to protect themselves. We did that. And every university, some universities opened 8, 9 branches. And the other thing, you know, we did at that time was uh, Human Rights Action Plan. That was, we presented to the government an idea that the government should not only plan economic and social issue, but human rights issue. And they should all, every year or every time, look into the legal regime, which are not probably good enough to protect human rights in the country, and time and to rectify them, you know. So the government did that, and that human rights action plan, I think, continued as long as I was there. It was being handled properly, and the government was engaged in rectifying certain legal regime. But I don't know what happened after that, and to that, where it stands, I don't know. After me, things went back again, but the new chief commissioner, I think, is doing marvelous job, and he might come up probably with the same kind of plan. You know, so human right is a difficult issue. You know, people ask you to focus on individual things, on little issues. You can't solve the massive problems that prevail in the country on simply focusing on issues here, issues there, on individual here, and another individual there. You have to see the system. You have to see the system. You have to try to change the system, the legal regime, the institution, and the infrastructure like the prison and things like that. This, I think, I try to do, and I don't know. Things are moving obviously forward.
Yeah. Also, this year saw massive evictions, violence, and tensions, as you know, and also glimmers of hope toward a better Ethiopia. Um, what are your expectations for Ethiopia in this new year?
Yeah, well, things will improve, obviously. You know, I think there is one thing. Ethiopians are discussing their problem. Ethiopians are, you know, Ethiopians are at liberty these days to bring their cases to 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 any forum. You know, people. There are many media outlets these days. You know, things are being discussed, but I'm sorry to say, but some are negatively, some are contributing negatively, but still, you know, there is discussion. As long as there is discussion, as long as there is uh, as long as people discuss their problem, as long as people are not suffocated or prevented from talking, from saying their grievances, you know, people will improve. Things will improve. This is how it can develop. This is how we can change. You know, but it is not easy. There are a lot of things that should be rectified in this country. Many things. Um, I think the government should continue, should push the reform, but not not forgetting the importance of law and order. You know, without law and order, there will not be development, social, economic, and otherwise. You know, without development, there will be unemployment, which will, you know, which will create a problem among the youth. Future is, for me, it is bright. People talk about disintegration of the country. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Some people fear that Ethiopian polity is nearing, as you say, disintegration with the prevalent ethnic clashes and conflicts. Are you concerned that Ethiopia will disintegrate, or are you optimistic that Ethiopia will manage to pull itself together? What's your observation?
Well, I have fear like anybody, any other person, you know. But my hope is far more greater than my fear, you know, because there is so many reasons for that. One, this is a seasoned country. This is an old country. Uh, uh, of course, we lack political, democratic experience. This is new for us. That is what is creating problem in this country. But down in our culture, we have uh, we have in it, be it small or big, we manage state. You know, even in I come from south. You know, if you go to south, small countries with population of less than 200,000, even less than that. Before Minilik, they had a sort of modern state, functioning state, with army, with government which is functioning, even with sort of ministers, you know, responsible for this and that, you know. So this country has experience let alone the big ones, you know, the Mara region or others. They had, you know, historically long history of statehood, you know, and they have experience. They lived together. They worked together. They fought each other. That is engagement at that time. Well, still they lived together, you know. They survived together. When the enemy came, they pooled their resources. They came up with arms, whatever they had. They fought the enemy together, and they maintained their independence, fighting together. An enemy, an outside enemy. They fought among themselves. That is true, but they remained united, at least Some people say for 100 years, or others say 3,000 years. Whatever it is, the state was there. Even if I say, okay, the United Ethiopia might be 100 years, but in every area, can, the nationalities had their own statehood. That is an experience. 100 years, a century. That's long time. You know, if we survived as a nation, as a multinational state, as a country for 100 years under the and resisted colonial aggression for so long, how could we disintegrate today in 21st century when every country, on every region, on every small nation came to enjoy their independence, to came and to enjoy their unity? This is for me, is far-fetched. This integration of Ethiopia is far-fetched. But, but, let me say but we should be careful. We should not allow anarchy in this country. That will be an obstacle for our economic development. That will be, that will stop, that will prevent our progress.
Let's also take some time talking about what you are doing now. Sir, what do you do now currently?
Well, I'm a pensioner. I'm a retired ambassador. I don't do much. I'm trying to set up an NGO. It deals with peace and security. I'm not directly involved, but chairman of the NGO. I put some money, try to organize it, and I tried to get some money, to undertake some study in the countryside with elders. I want to look into this institution. It is, it will assist us to maintain peace and the stability in the country. You have the Gada system, you have this and that and the system traditionally. If you study and if you prop them up, to deal with the local problems, if you assist them, if you simply a bit modernize it, it will assist the government to maintain peace and stability in the country. So that for that reason, I tried to do something, but I'm not a rich man. I put some money, but I tried to get money from international community and the other richer people, but the response was not that good. That's where I am. Otherwise, I write, my experiences and history of probably diplomatic history. I may write. We had long diplomatic history. Our duty, to come up with some document, so that the future generation could see, oh, they did this. Oh, good, that is good. So that's where I am.
And finally, now that the Ethiopian New Year is approaching, what's your good wish message?
First, I think I encourage the Ethiopian government, the Prime Minister, to push ahead with all difficulties, with the reform, and to enhance the national dialogue, which I mentioned earlier, and to make everything inclusive. Let no one, let me say again and again, no one should be left out of the Ethiopian project. Everybody should be on board. Everybody, you know. Probably it could be difficult today, but if you want to maintain our our unity, our independence, and enhance our development, we should make everybody inclusive. You know, everybody should be on the part of the project. You know, this This is, of course, difficult task, but I think the Prime Minister is young, energetic. He seems had vision, and I hope he could do this. I think he should do everything to do that. And other thing is, I think other thing he should give priority is to fix the education system. It is broken, I say, and that has to be rectified. And as to the Ethiopian elites, I beg them, the country must come first, not the political power, or not money, or not this and that. But what is important is the Ethiopian people. Let us not fight for simple political power. This is what I would say to my to my to my brothers and sisters in the political arena.
Ambassador tiruneh Zena, thank you so much for your perspectives and for your time.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you for allowing me to say some words about my country.
Well, dear viewers, that was Ambassador tiruneh Zena talking to us in this edition of Addis Dialogue. Many thanks for your company so far, and till I see you with another program, it's goodbye from me, Shfarao Lagao. Stay safe and take care.